While our band is getting settled, I invite you to do the first element of prayer, which is to relax. And I invite you to take a few deep, healing, conscious breaths. So that is not the breath that you breathe just from the top of your chest, but you take the breath all the way down deeply into your lungs. It's a way to let your consciousness know that something different is about to happen. And the something different is we're going into the energy of our hearts, where there is peace and wisdom and love and well-being and understanding and strength and light and revelation and intelligence, faith beyond measure. That's all within your heart. The words of Charles Fillmore, one of our co-founders, he said, "Faith is the highest expression of belief or confidence. It is that something in us that says, I believe in the possibilities of things that I cannot see." When we can believe this way, putting aside all doubt and whatever suggests failure, the thoughts of faith begin to accumulate substance and fulfillment follows. Fillmore goes on to say this: faith is of the mind, and it is the match that starts the fire in the electrons and protons of innate spirit forces. When the trillions of cells in one's body are roused to expectancy by spiritual faith, a positive spiritual contact results and marvelous transformations take place. So I invite you to breathe into the energy of those words. When we allow ourselves to surrender to this idea that there are possibilities that we do not yet see, that when we open our hearts and minds to faith, that trillions of cells and atoms align to participate in pulling together the substance, the spiritual substance, that creates transformative outcomes. I invite us each one to deepen into these divine ideas. What if it's true that we have at the ready within us a power called faith that can help pull together the substance for transformative outcomes? I invite you to bring forward in your consciousness those beloveds for whom you are holding these ideas for healing and renewal and transformative outcomes. And if you feel so inspired to please boldly speak their names out now into this healing reservoir of energy that we're creating together. For all world leaders, government leaders, community leaders, our entire human family, our global community, all life on this planet, the waters, the soil, the air, all life. As we move into a few moments of silence, I invite you to consider that you are a generator of faith. That we, together with our thoughts and our words, create an atmosphere of faith. An atmosphere of knowing that there are possibilities for transformation already existing, whether we see them or not. Peace, peace. We hold our world, ourselves, our beloveds in this energy of love and healing and renewal and peace, peace, peace. And we say, so it is, and so we let it be. Namaste. I love watching the light go up. So I'd like to invite us all this week to practice that. I've noticed among my human species that often we're looking for evidence of what's not working. And that's an interesting little thing that we do to ourselves. So I invite us this week to look at what is working and look at the evidence of the light. To watch for evidence of what is being renewed and what is transforming, and make it a kind of research project. Keep notes as if you're the one. You're going to be doing a report. We could call it a shift report. That's what the Institute of Noetic Sciences called it a few years back, when they made a really thick booklet called the Shift Report. For those of you who are here in the way back, if you remember, I took the pages of that shift report and we had them taped all over the wall of the sanctuary. It took the whole sanctuary and the Peace Chapel all around. It was like an art exhibit. There were so many shifts going on in the world, and that shift report was from 2007. Now I invite us this week to do a research project looking for the signs of shift, or the signs of transformation, or the signs of healing, the signs of renewal in our own lives and in the lives of our human family and in the world. Can we agree to do that? And keep a ledger, or make notes in your journal. Put Post-it notes on your bathroom wall and on your, everywhere where you're in your car. Evidence of the transformation that's going on for a human family. Why is that important? Because one of the things I've noticed about myself and about my species is we will be very enthusiastic and giving thanks for some particular shift, and usually within about 5 minutes we're looking for the next thing to be worried about. So what I want to do is, for myself and for others, is to build up our evidence list so much that when somebody comes to you and says, yeah, but did you hear that thing that happened? And you unroll your evidence list, yes, and look at what's happening in the world for our transformation and renewal and waking up. Can we do that? Okay, so far none of that's in my notes. Okay, so we're talking about faith. And Fillmore said this: faith is the foundation of all the other powers. if you're looking for wisdom, for strength, if you're looking to have a big, wonderful prayer life, if you're doing your inner work to wake up, Fillmore says this is the one power on which all the other powers are resting. Does that make sense? Yeah, because faith, we were talking about this in Sunday morning circle, faith, for me, it takes faith to even consider that I can deepen my faith. If I can just touch into a little bit of my faith, remember Jesus said it's just a little bit. The size of a mustard seed, which is really small. If you have that much faith, then you can open up the door and that chink of light comes through and you're able to keep opening the door to more faith. That's what I have found. You know, it's like a pump. I don't know if you ever had a pump on a farm anywhere. I know some of you did. You had to prime the pump. What did you have to do to prime the pump? You had to put a little water in it. You know, if you're in the desert and you have a jar of water and you're sitting by the pump, how tempting is it going to be just to drink the water? But we're asked to pour it into the pump to get it primed so that all the water we need comes forth. So faith is like that. Put a little bit in, open up the door, get that chink of light so that we can fully open the door to the reservoir of faith. That's the way I have found it to work. Fillmore said faith is the perceiving power of our mind. You can look at it as wearing a certain kind of glasses. And we're looking through the glasses of our thought process. If I'm having a week where I'm feeling sorry for myself, then the glasses I'm wearing, everything I see is going to be colored by that idea of feeling sorry for myself. Have y'all noticed that? So he says that faith is the insight, it's the inner sight, and it's the ability to see with our thoughts. It's like the steering mechanism. So this is the one we all know. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the conviction or the evidence of things we don't see yet. Another way to talk about that is, I know that I know that I know. In our early marriage, this doesn't leave this room, but when David and I were first married, it was like, how can I describe it? Well, I would have an idea, something profound, I'm sure. And David says, well, how do you know this? And I would say, well, because I know. I feel it. And he would say, well, where's the evidence? How did you arrive at this? Well, it's what I feel. It's what I know. But how do you know it? So we went in circles for a few years. And it's a wonderful awareness to know that you know that you know. But I have learned to back it up with, look for the evidence of what I feel is true. Look for the evidence. I ask for confirmations. Remember the guy Gideon in the Bible? Pull out your Bibles. Let's turn to... Remember the story of Gideon? Okay. Gideon was a double checker. I'm a double checker. Some will tell you I double check too much. So Gideon was getting ready to go into a battle. In the Old Testament, they were always having a battle. And Gideon, he did what they called laying a fleece. And he would say, okay, if we're going to win the battle, I'm going to put this lamb's fleece on the ground. And if we're going to win the battle, have the dew fall only on that fleece, Lord. You can do things like that with the Lord. And so he woke up the next morning and the dew was on the fleece and nowhere else. And then he said, okay, well, if it's really going to happen the next day, make the dew go, how did I say it, the other way? Everywhere but the fleece. So the next morning he got up and the dew was all around the fleece but not on the fleece. Okay, we're going to win the battle, but just to make sure, he asked for 3 different confirmations. And I do that. I have a feeling, there's the direction we need to go, and I want some evidence. I'm asking for evidence right now on some particular prayer project. Show me some evidence. Show me a sign. Give me an awareness that this is the right direction. It's okay to ask for confirmation. The way the one writer said it, pray to God and then tie up your camel. You know, do the things that are necessary to be done in the world and pray as if everything depends on the one presence. So, your faith has made you whole. Anybody ever hear that? So when, Jesus was walking through the crowd and the woman who had an illness of many years, she just wanted to touch the hem of his garment. That's metaphysically, to touch into that consciousness where all of the possibilities exist. The realm of divine possibility, the field of possibility. Touch into that consciousness. Here's what Gandhi said, and we're in the 64 days of peace, or nonviolence as it's called. Gandhi says, it is faith that steers us through stormy seas. Faith that moves mountains and faith that jumps across the ocean. That faith is nothing but a living, wide-awake consciousness of God within. Is that great? Faith is a living, wide-awake consciousness of that one presence within. I love that. A wide-awake consciousness. Do we have the faith to consider that peace is possible for humankind?
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
Has it ever happened fully on the planet so far? It appears the answer is no. Do we have the faith to know it's possible? That's all we need. We don't have to know all the different ways it's going to happen. This new property we have requires faith. You need to be holding your growth and development team and your board and your minister and all the people involved in this church for right decisions to be made as we go forward. We want to have the faith to move forward and the wisdom to make good decisions. So, the wide-awake consciousness of God within. So here's faith, for me, is required to even consider these 5 principles that unity teaches. Are you kidding me? These are big principles. And it takes faith to even consider that I can do these things, much less understand what they mean. It takes faith to consider that there's one presence and one power active in the universe in my life, what Unity calls God the Good. That takes faith to even consider that that's true. And number 2, are you kidding me? Oops. Our essence is of God, therefore we are inherently good.
Amen. That's right.
Born in original goodness. We were talking about that in Sunday morning circle this morning. How many of us were taught we were born in original sin? Woo, we all know the answer to that. What if we're really born in original goodness? What if that's true? I propose to you that it is true. But that takes what this writer calls a divine audacity to consider that's true. Because people in power and authority were telling me something else. So suddenly I have to deepen into my own power and my own authority to know my own goodness. Meaning I know the one presence. We're co-creators. We're co-creators. Okay. We're co-creators with God, creating reality through thoughts held in mind. It takes faith to consider that I can co-create a transformed world with my thoughts. That takes some faith to consider that my thoughts are relevant and pertinent enough that I can have an impact on the transformative consciousness in this world. It takes divine audacity to feel that that's true. And through prayer and meditation, we align our heart and mind with God. It takes faith for me to sit in meditation, to sit in silence, to give myself over to that. It takes faith to know that by the doing of that, I can feel my oneness with one presence. I can do something Jesus did. I and the Father are one. It takes faith to sit myself down, go into the silence so that I can feel my oneness with one spirit. That takes faith. Have y'all noticed that? And through our thoughts, words, and actions, we live the truth we know. So do my thoughts, words, and actions always demonstrate that I believe in the goodness of myself? The answer is no. Do we always act out, or with our words, with our thoughts, show that we know our original goodness and divinity? No, that's why we practice. You've got 5 more minutes to practice, and time's up. I'm kidding. Okay, so let's tell a healing story, shall we? And some of you have heard parts of this story, but I'm going to expand it out a little bit this morning. So David and I were at Unity of Palo Alto many years ago, and after the Sunday workshop, she came to us the next day. We had a counseling and healing session together. And then she invited us to her home. And this woman had been given a diagnosis of stomach cancer. So we went into her home, and the first thing I heard out of David's mouth, we hadn't even sat down yet, David had the audacity to ask this woman, what is it you cannot stomach? My reaction was, you didn't even give her 30 seconds. She did not hesitate a second, and she began to recount the story. What is it she could not stomach? Her daughter, driving, stopped at a stoplight and was shot and killed. Okay, let's all take a deep breath. The young man was now sitting in prison, life in prison. And what happened next is she asked us if we would do healing work with her for the stomach cancer. And so the next thing that we did was the ceremony and the prayer. And this is the prayer, the ceremony that we did. We touched the top of her head, we took a deep breath, and David said, I call forth the infilling of the divine light of the Christ. I call forth a perfect circle of light and love to surround you. I call forth the holy healing breath of God to breathe within you now, and I call forth the power of the Holy Spirit to move through you now, to move the energy into your heart. This is a form of prayer and a form of ceremony. It helped all 3 of us to shift to another place of thinking, another place of being. In that moment, we asked her another question. What is your heart telling you to do? So you don't go to your heart for no good reason. You go to your heart, we go to our heart to tap into the intelligence of that energy. What does your heart tell you to do? And what this woman did next, over the next 6 months, was a part of the huge healing that happened. Over the next 6 months, she contacted the mother of the young man who had killed her daughter. During that 6 months, she got together with the mother and the family. They had lost their son. He was now sitting in life in prison. The next thing she did, she began correspondence with the young man, writing letters back and forth in prison. And the next thing that happened is she went to see the young man. Now, why do you think she was able to do this? Because after we did that healing work together, she had a dream. And our daughter came to her in a dream. And our daughter was sitting in the prison cell with her murderer. And she looked at her mother in the dream and she said, I have forgiven him. Can you do the same? And over the next 6 months, that's what she did. 2 families came together to heal. She forgave the young man. She continues to visit him in prison. That's the big healing. And as an aside, the stomach cancer went into remission. Now, I can't prove to you that one impacted the other, but I know it did. I know that I know that I know. Healing is always happening, and sometimes cure happens. Healing is ongoing, nonstop, all the time, all around us and within. She yielded to this idea of sacred ceremony. She yielded to this idea of speaking words that would open her consciousness to this transformative presence. She yielded or surrendered to that idea. So, what are your ceremonies? When you're wanting to deepen your faith, you might light a candle, you might sit in silence, meditation, prayer, you might put on special music. But the idea that we're always doing ceremony in order to deepen our faith, because it's the power on which all the other powers rest. We want to deepen our faith. And somebody says to me, well, I don't know if I've got the faith to see that cure, see that healing, or see that breakthrough. All we need is a little bit of faith to yield to the huge, giant reservoir of faith that's within us. Does that make sense? I hope so, because that's the end of my message. So let's take a deep breath. Whatever we're dealing with, whatever we're experiencing, whether in our body, our mind, our emotions, our lives, our circumstances, what is it? What's the question? What is the incredible, miraculous question that we want to ask ourselves? The question might be something like, what is it I need to see in this moment? What is it I need to understand in this experience? What is it that I need to know about this event? How can I stand in a transformative consciousness even with this experience happening? How can I be a presence of healing and renewal in the world even in the midst of hurtful circumstances? How can I be a presence of healing? How can my words, my thoughts, my presence make a difference? Our entire lives are sacred ceremony. My prayer is this morning we can know that and see that and understand how pertinent and powerful we are. Namaste. Thank you, Reverend Margaret. And can we all make a promise to ourselves this week to examine those questions that Reverend Margaret asked of us today? How is our faith? It may not be seen right now, but it will reveal itself to us as we make our commitment to prayer and meditation. And as our ushers come up, let us say our offertory blessing together. Divine love as us blesses and multiplies all that we are, all that we have, all that we give, and all that we receive. We give in love and we receive